there was a community organization called New York Communities for Change that was, their platform was around mostly education and affordable housing. They were out collecting petition signatures around affordable housing from low-wage workers. I think they actually started at the beginning of 2012. Towards the summer, they started having a bunch of community organizers start calling through all the numbers, had to have more in-depth conversations about affordable housing in New York. And after about a month of calling, the organizers started to realize that every time they talked to the fast food workers, that the conversations were different than when they talked to a lot of the other workers. And really what it came down to is the fast food workers were being fired for anything. They weren't getting raises, so you had people who have been working in the industry for 7 years, 10 years, they were making $7.25. Some people had just started in fast food the day before, they were making $7.25. Some people had been working at the same store for 4 or 5 years, they were making $7.25. And anytime someone wasn't making $7.25, they may be making $7.35. Or 40 cents. People were receiving literally 3-cent raises, 5-cent raises, etc. You have to keep in mind, this is a $200 billion industry. McDonald's alone brings home about $5 billion a year in profit, so they're not lacking when it comes to money. And so the community organization essentially reached out to SEIU and said, hey, we have this group of fast food workers out here, we don't know what to do with them, we're a community organization, we don't put people in unions, but you all might want to come out here and check it out and see what you all think. So SEIU put me on loan to go out to New York City, and we started having the first meetings with fast food workers in about September of 2012. The first meeting was about 40 or so workers, and really that meeting was about issues. Those workers were from all the major brands, so McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, Burger King, Wendy's, all the big brands. And I think that this was probably the first time that fast food workers from different brands and different parts of the city were all in one room. So it was kind of a light bulb moment. If you think about it, people really were used to dealing with people inside their stores. So it's like, I know what's going on inside my store, but I have no idea what's happening at the Pizza Hut, way in Harlem. I work at a McDonald's in Brooklyn. So you have 40 fast food workers from all these different brands. What was interesting is they all had the exact same issues. I mean, literally, it really came down to pay, hours, and job security. And then I would say the next thing was health and safety. Because at one point in the meeting, people all stood up. Someone stood up and said something about them being burned on a grill. They all stood up and rolled up their sleeves, had burns up and down their arms. And basically what they would be told is put mayonnaise or mustard on it and get back to work. So the first meeting was about issues. Then people said, hey, we want to do another meeting. Can we bring more people to the second meeting and then we can meet again? We said sure. The second meeting was probably about 70 or so workers. People essentially went back to their stores, told people like, look, we just had a meeting. We're trying to figure out how to deal with some of these issues. You want to come to this next meeting? Next meeting was about 70 or so workers. And in that meeting, people really started to dig into the issues to figure out what is it that we really want. These are our issues, what do we want? And that's when people really came up with $15 in a union. 15 was because we were in New York City, people were making $7.25 an hour. At one point it went to about 20. People felt like it would be hard to figure out how to get from $7.25 to 20. At another part it went to about 10. Really the room decided like if we went up to $10, that's not going to change my life much. And that's really how people landed on 15. Like if we had 15, we probably had just enough to at least get food, get shelter, and get clothing for ourselves and for our children. That was the second meeting. The third meeting probably had about 100 workers, and that's when people decided to go on strike. And that was November 29th of 2012. I would just say on the outset is when anybody who knew about the strike prior to it actually happened, literally, would say to your face, like, you are the dumbest person that I've ever seen in my life. If you think that you're gonna, A, take fast food workers who are making $7.25, and if you think anybody that flips a burger or makes a milkshake is gonna get $15 an hour, you're out your mind. B, if you think that there's any way that fast food workers will ever be in a union, you are as dumb as you look. And C, if you think that people, in the first meeting we had 2 ladies in there. One lady had just been fired because she ate a chicken nugget in the back in the freezer because she was starving, so they fired her. Another woman was there who had just been fired because she drank water out of a medium cup instead of the small water cup, so they fired her. So people are like, you have people sitting in your meetings who were just fired for eating a chicken nugget and drinking water, and you're dumb enough to believe that you can take them on strike, which means they're gonna give their employer a notice to say, I ain't coming into work today, and then you're gonna walk them back into work the next day, and you think they're not gonna all get fired, then once again, you're dumber than you look. And so that was the first strike, November 29th, 2012, and it ended up being probably one of the most successful strikes that anyone had ever seen. Literally every media outlet in the country was there. So every national media outlet, every local media outlet, radio, written, online, television, everyone was there, and I think it really just came down to, I used to organize nursing homes and hospitals. You have a nursing home in Cleveland. It's hard for people to identify with that. Everybody identifies with the golden arches, and I think that everyone identified with the stories that were coming out from the workers, because you didn't see union leaders out speaking to the press. What you saw were workers who were out telling their stories about living in homeless shelters, about sleeping in a park, about having to skip meals, eating every day so that their kids could eat every day. We had people that would literally say, I eat every 3 days so that my kids can eat every day. And so I think the story started to touch people because low-wage jobs are the fastest growing jobs in the United States of America. So fast forward a little bit, that was the first strike, November 29, 2012, huge success. A year later, by the end of 2013, we were in 100 cities across the U.S. with fast food workers striking. By the end of 2014, we were in 190 cities across the U.S. striking, and we had gone international. So we had about 30 countries that were starting to participate in the strikes, whether they were going on strike, doing marches, taking over stores. They were doing something in front of the McDonald's. And then by the end of last year, we were actually on strike in 270 cities, November 10th of 2015. So the movement has grown fast. I would say that, look, when you look at the success of the campaign, I would say first it's the workers, because you have to be brave enough to go on strike. And if you've never been on strike, then just ask yourself, would you go in and tell your employer, I ain't coming to work today, go on strike, stand in front of your job with a picket sign, chanting, standing on cars, doing everything, and then go back into the job tomorrow and say, hey, I'm here to work. Like, it's a very difficult thing. And then add into that, you're living in poverty, you got 2 kids sitting at home expecting for you to come home with a paycheck tomorrow. So I would say the bravery of the workers has probably been, clearly the biggest piece of this success. The second thing, frankly, has been the dedication of SEIU and the leadership of Mary Kay Henry and the members of SEIU, because the members of SEIU, they've trained a lot of these fast food workers on how to have a union, how to strike, how to do things that only union members know how to do. Keep in mind, these fast food workers are non-union. They are not in the union. These are workers who are trying to form a union. SEIU members have essentially adopted these workers and taught them how to fight the balls, how to go on strike, and how to have strike lines, etc. And then I would say the third piece of success has been the coalition. Just the growth of the coalition. We have everyone from churches to other labor unions, immigration groups, and the biggest, frankly, one of the biggest pieces of success of this campaign has been the relationship that's been formulated with the Black Lives Matter movement, the BLM movement. And so at the same time that all these strikes were happening through 2012, 2013, 2014, up into the present, something unique was starting to happen in the country at that time. So if you go back to July 17th of 2014, 43-year-old Eric Garner was murdered in New York City by the NYPD. That was July 17th of 2014. By August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown was murdered in Ferguson, Missouri by the St. Louis police. By November 22nd, 2014, Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old, was gunned down by the Cleveland police. And then July 17th of 2015 in Charleston, South Carolina, at the Emmanuel African Episcopal Church, 10 folks were shot there. 9 of them were murdered, including a senior pastor and a state senator. So at the same time that this huge movement is happening, you have murders that are happening on camera, on film, being spread all around the TV, all around the internet. And if you look at Ferguson,